Hello everyone. I hope everyone are having good time and having a safe stay in their home. Today we are here to discuss about the theories. Previously we discussed about the two chapters. One was regarding to the legal psychology and another was domestication of the human rights. But this chapter is a longest chapter in which we will be discussing about numbers of the theories. Among the numbers of the theories, today here we will be starting off with the John Austin's theory with regard to the jurisprudence. Today, we will be discussing the theory of the John Austin in the same way, the major elements to be considered to be law as per him. In the same way, law properly so-called and law improperly so-called. Along with that, we will also discuss about the application of the Austin's theory in present context of Nepal and few of the criticisms which has been done by different scholars with regard to his theories. Now, starting up with the John Austin. John Austin, who was born in 1790 and whose demise was on 1859, was the first professor of the jurisprudence at the London University. In 1832, he had published a book named The Province of Jurisprudence Determined, and it is attempt to ascertain the general limits of the jurisprudence. So, as per Austin, what is jurisprudence? For him, jurisprudence solely concerned with the positive law, or the law strictly so-called and considered without regard to their goodness or badness. Here, John Austin tried to say that law does not become law if it is good or if it is not bad. Here it means to say that either it is good or bad, it is law or it is law when it is strictly so-called. So Austin in his lecture sharply demonstrated the differences between various types of law which play a role to govern the human behavior. He contributed two ideas in jurisprudence. First one is how positive law differ from other types of law. Second one is jurisprudence its specialty is to study law, not any other. He considered and claimed both limitation and strength of jurisprudence, that is strictly positive law and discipline is nothing but jurisprudence. He tried to analyze and try to say that jurisprudence is not anthropology, history, sociology, economy, and psychology. Thus, jurisprudence is only the study of law. It should be studied in separate manner. So Austin stated that a rule laid down for the guidance of an intelligent being by an intelligent being having power over him. Remember, by an intelligent being to the intelligent being, but that by intelligent being is a person having a power over another intelligent being. Austin's entire endeavor was to separate and cut off all these styles which are not positive law, man-made or human invention. So here, Austin tried to say that there is nothing which is like ought to be. Ought to be cannot be the science of the jurisprudence. He said that there is no ought to be studied in the law. He said that the things which exist automatically and cannot be changed, like gravitational force, solar system, these stuffs are not law. Further, he also said that just like king ought to protect the people, there is ought, right? Ought to be. He says that those ought to be are not the proper subject matter of the law. Whenever they come with the ought to be, esto hola, or in this type, then that will not be regarded to be the study area of jurisprudence as per Austin. Every positive law or every law, simply and strictly so-called, is said by a sovereign. Sovereign can be a person or a body of the person. It need not to be only a person. It can be a body of the person. That person can be elected as well to a member of the independent political society wherein that person or body is supreme or a sovereign. So there are four elements to be considered while dealing with the theory of the Austin. Remember, there are four elements. If we see the literatures, then in some literatures you can also see 3 elements. In some literature, you can also find 5 elements. But here, we will be majorly discussing about the 4 elements. And those are sovereign, subject, command, and sanction. Austin said that these 4 elements are required to be a law. So let's start with the sovereign. Sovereign is a lawgiver. The base of the sovereign is the fact of evidence which involves a relationship of the sovereignty and subjection. The power of the sovereign is incapable of legal limitation, nor it is divisible. Remember that it is sovereign which have no legal limitations. It shows that the lawgiver or the sovereign is above the law. The legal science has no interest on the formation of the establishment of the sovereign. Whether we the people is sovereign, or sovereign is elected or appointed or born. It has no relevancy how sovereign is formed or existed. The only thing is the interest of the jurisprudence is the sovereign. If a determinate human person, not in habit of the evidence to like superior, receive habitual evidence from bulk of the given society, that determinate superior is sovereign in that society. And the society is a society political and independent. So here, the sovereign is the ultimate author of the law. When a bulk of the people will be following another person, then the person who is being followed will be recognized as a sovereign. Sovereign idea does not only replace the law of the God and the law of the people, moreover, equally deny all the possible sources, requirements, and interests. Here, the sovereign is the ultimate author of the law. There are no other sources. The only source for making law is a sovereign. Sovereign as an ultimate lawgiver is unquestionable in a double sense. First one is its legality or validity cannot be in question. And the second one is it is free from all limitation. So the ultimate power is with sovereign and there is no one to raise a question. Here is one of the concept of the gold medal. For instance, when there is a sports or a game, then ultimately the winner will be having a gold medal. Just like in the last time in football match, till the semi-finals we had our chances, right? Till the final as well. But once the final is over, the gold medal was received by the winner team. The very same concept can be drawn in the sovereign concept as well. So Austrian sovereign is similar to a boxing match or football match or any other kind of the matches. The gold medal belonging to a player who defeats all, right? Who defeats all and who stand in the first position, that player or that team will be having a gold medal. Or can be said that a gold medal belongs to the winner. Hence, in the context of a movement or revolution or war, Austrian's practical solution was that neither monarch nor revolutionary group could be sovereign. Sovereign is the one who wins over another. Just like in the 2063 and 62 conflict as well, there was a revolution against the monarch. If the monarch had won, then obviously the sovereign would have been the monarch. But just because the monarch was defeated by the revolutionary team, and now we said that people are sovereign. So now another element is the subject. Subject is a people who obey the sovereign, or the sovereign's command is followed by the subject. The relationship between subject and a sovereign is not reciprocal and independent. Rather, people have a general habit of obedience and depend on a sovereign. So, the people who are following the sovereign's command are said to be the subject. The people who follow those orders are said to be the subjects. Now, command. Command emanates from the capacity to impose duty because it carries sanctions. Command comprises fear of pain or evilness or harm or disadvantage that makes the law possible. Command emanates from the superior as a matter of power and might, which alone prepare the subject. Superior is glorified with the power to command and strengthened to execute it. A commander is not a post or rank, it is a power to bind or oblige the citizen or the subjects. So here we can say that command is given by the superior person or a sovereign person. Austin also discussed about the judiciary and interpretation made by the judiciary as well. These days, judiciary or precedent is one of the source of the law. But here, John Austin is trying to say that the interpretation made by the judiciary is merely the communication of the meanings of the sovereign to the particular subject in the particular cases. Here he tries to say that judiciary will be giving the decision being based on the laws which has been made by the sovereign, and the interpretation made by the judges is glorifying and clarifying the meaning of the judgment. Now another element is a sanction. Among those four elements, sanction is one of the major elements to be there in the law. It's said that sanctions are based on the motivation by the fear of evil. Sanction as element of the command as a power reserved by a sovereign, and in another side a definite and certain evil or a harm for the subject. Sanction is a capacity of the sovereign that spread in every command which make the law possible. By sanction annexed to the law proper, the parties oblige or are inclined to act or forbear actively to its injunction or prohibition. It also tried to say that when there is a sanction, then people will be following the law. Sanction makes law positive, thus all laws are perceived as a duty, not as a right and freedom. Rights comes to exist due to corresponding duty. Jurisprudence knows about the sanction or the punishment that is determined by the sovereign. So here this chart shows the types of the law which has been described by the John Austin. So law can be differentiated as a said by the God, and another one is human law. He does not discuss about the law which has been said by the God. He tried to say about the human law. And in human law as well, there are two types of the law. One is properly so called and another is improperly so called. Basically, John Austin's theory discuss about the properly so called law, the positive law, which has command, sanction, duty and sovereignty, which we have discussed earlier. And another type of the law is improperly so called, which are not said directly or indirectly by a political superior. Those laws, just like the rules of the clubs, rules of the so-called international laws, these rules which are not backed by the sanction, and there is no as so-called or properly mentioned duty bearers, that these types of the laws are said to be improperly so-called. Now going up with the application of the John Austin's theory in the present context. Here, John Austin's theory was regarded to be the basis for the positivism, whereas there were lots of the criticism made by the other jurists as well. But yet, we cannot deny the application of his theory till date. Though we said that John Austin's theory is have lots of the criticisms, but yet the elements which has been described by the John Austin's, the concept which has been made by the John Austin's theory is still relevant. Just like the concept of the sanction, sovereignty, command and subjects are still in utility. For instance, let's start with the sanction. In most of the criminal cases or in most of the criminal laws, there is sanction associated with them. In any kind of the laws, just if we see the criminal code, if we review any provisions relating to the crime, then there is a punishment associated with it. The punishment can either be the imprisonment or the fine as well. But currently, there are numbers of the theories which are being utilized and used for the purpose of the punishing the people. There is reformative theory as well, in the same retributive theory as well. But yet, whenever we think about the punishment or whenever we go through the provisions, then we can see the fine and imprisonment. To some extent, we can also say that people are following law, and one of the reasons to be followed is sanction. Just when any kind of the people is found to be guilty of the offense, or he or she has committed the crime, then he or she is punished. Cases are filed to punish the wrongdoers. We can take the example of the current lockdown as well. People are not going outside. It is not only because that they are self-aware and they want to be saved. Rather, to some extent, we can also say that there is police outside. So why shall we go out? Because we may get punishment, right? Now, another element is the sovereignty. Person vested with sovereignty in past may differ than that of the person in the present context, but yet we cannot deny the concept of sovereignty. Sovereign is the one who holds the power to make law, and sovereign is the author of the law. Austin did not say that the king is sovereign. Sovereign is a power vested on the person. Constitution of the Nepal in the preamble says that we the sovereign people of the country. So here we still have the concept of the sovereignty. Yet, the person who is sovereign is different, but yet the concept of sovereignty is still there. So we can say that this is the application of the John Austin's theory. Another element was a command. There is someone to give commands. It is not like a command of the dictatorship, but in the another sense, laws passed by the parliament is a sort of the command for us, and we are supposed to follow it. So now, sovereign is not unlimited as per said by the John Austin, but yet we are here to follow the commands which has been made by those parliaments, right? Once laws are passed by the parliament, then we cannot deny those laws, because ignorance of law is of no excuse. Not only that much, we are supposed to follow law as we are a law abiding citizen. If we do not follow those laws, then obviously we will be sanctioned, or we may be liable for paying certain kind of the obligations as well. So here, commander has been changed with a change in the concept of sovereignty, but there is command and the command giver. Now another one is the subject, right? So the one who follow the law are said to be the subject, and here we are the one who are following the law. Maybe following of the law is because of the fear of sanction, or maybe because of the sense of the obligation or morality, but yet we are here to follow law. It need not be that all the laws are to be followed just because of the fear of the sanction as been stated by the Austin, but there can be the reasons that we are following law because we feel that we are obliged, or we feel that we are supposed to follow law. Now, going on to the criticism of the theory. So numbers of the scholar had criticized Austin's theory in the numbers of the ways, but here we will be discussing few of them. You can also get numbers of the criticisms in the literature. The first one is sovereign is the only source for the Austin. As Austin said that sovereign is only the lawgiver. He denied the morality, history, culture and other factors as the sources of law. But it is not only the sovereign which gives the law or the lawgiver. There are numbers of the other sources from where law can be derived. In the same way, sovereign as per Austin is unlimited, but it is not possible. Lawmakers are to be law abiders as well. No one is above the rule. So, rule of law is being prevalent. Thus, it is another criticism made by the scholars with regard to the Austin's theory. Furthermore, linguistic looseness, as in the use of the term command, and the confusion of the sovereignty in the de facto with the sovereignty de jure. Here, who is the command giver? In fact, the parliaments are being as lawgivers in de jure, as per Austin said that there is a certain body. Right? So here criticisms has been made that the command word in itself is confusing. Who is the command giver and who is the sovereign is not clear with regard to the Austin's theory. Vinogradoff observed that Austin approached law from its formal side only and seemed unaware of the fact that the basis of the law may be found in the agreement rather than in command. Here Vinogradoff focused on the agreement rather than in the command. He tried to say that the laws can be made in a general agreement as well, in the consensus of the people. Further, Austin had paid insufficient attention to the significance of the justice in the growth of the law and has given inadequate weight to the judgment law. Yes, we had also already discussed in this part as well. Just the precedent is one of the source of the law, but Austin denies it. He only said that it is merely the explanation of the law which has already been made by the sovereign. Further, Hart stated that it has been suggested that the concept of the law as order backed by the threat of the application of the sanction is inadequate. There are, in fact, many laws in which there is neither order nor threat. Austin stated that people to follow law because they are habituated to it, but it is not always the habit to follow the law. What if the new laws and a system are imposed in a society by a sovereign? Hart stated that it is oversimplified and made it criticism worthy. It's not always a habit. People are following law just because it is habit is not an adequate explanation for why we are following law or why people are following law. These are the certain criticisms made about the Austin's theory, but yet we can find numbers of the other criticisms as well, whereby we also find the applications as well. So summing up with Austin's theory, whenever we will be remembering the Austin, we have to remember the four elements which we discuss about the jurisprudence. It's like for Austin, there need command, there need sovereignty, there need sanctions, and a duty bearer, or we can say it as a subject, right? When there is these four elements, then only there will be the law. He said that the sovereign is unlimited, and people or subjects are to follow the laws which has been set by the sovereign. Well, this much for today. Here we have some references, just like Jurisprudence as a Cabas by Kamal Raj Thapa, Jurisprudence by the Krunoj, and also the Jurisprudence and Legal Theories by the V.D. Mahajan. Still, there are numbers of the other jurisprudence books which you can follow. So thank you so much. If there are any confusions, then you can assist to me with this email address. And in another session, we will be discussing about our other scholars. Till then, stay safe and stay happy. Thank you so much.